She's back, y'all. She's back, y'all. She's back, y'all. She's back. She's back, y'all. She's back, y'all. She's back, y'all. She's back.
Did you miss me?
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Mad Crafter with 3W Creations, and today we will be working on those so cute, so adorable TuTu socks. I recently started making them and I love them. They are such a fun, easy project. It looks like it's more complicated than it is, but I promise you, it's a lot simpler than it looks. So, if you'd like to see how you can make your very own, please stick with me and we'll be back with how to make TuTu socks. Okay, everyone, so for today's video, the supplies we'll need will be, of course, a sewing machine, thread of your choosing, a ruler, because some of us may need to measure out your fabric, safety pins, larger ones preferably, the large safety pin. And when I say large, I mean large. Okay, you want to have some of these. If you have a small one, you can make it work, but I would suggest getting the larger ones. You need the ribbon that you're choosing, elastic. It just so happened that this time I have elastic that is the color of my, wait for it, I would say tulle, but I'm not using tulle today. Today I am using organza. So, yes guys, you can make the same type of sock with other fabrics. Today I am choosing to use organza. Organza is similar to mesh, or tulle, I'm sorry, but it just adds a little something different to it. So I will be using organza for today's project. You can still follow along with this and use tulle or whatever fabric you decide. And lastly, the only other thing you will need is a pair of scissors. Okay, so gather your supplies and meet me back at the machine. First thing we're going to need to do is to take your tulle, measured out, and for me today I am working with a 10-foot, approximately, I guess 3 and a little more yards of organza. I found this great pack of these organzas in a local store that unfortunately has gone out of business, but I must say, knowing now that I could be using these, I wish they were still around because it's perfect for this. This strip is, like I said, it's already been cut 10 feet. So it's 10 feet long and it's about 9 inches wide. Okay? Now, what we're going to do, so you can go ahead and cut yours into the size. Some people, you might need more yards for yours or less. And I'm going to, so either way, cut it to the length that you need. And then, like I said, this is at 9, but whatever width you choose, you want to take it and fold in half. So we're going to fold this in half for our sock. So it's going to be, instead of, might be a little more than 4 and some change wide now, give or take. But you don't want to have a super long amount here because that'll be a lot hanging over your sock. But somewhere between 3 to 4 inches is a good size for me. So you want to take that, and I don't do a lot of pinning. I just pretty much start here. So I'm going to bring this to the front of my machine. and let this extra hang where you need it to be. Try not to have a lot of stuff at the bottom wherever you are hanging it, because like tulle, it does kind of catch things. So now that I have mine in half, if you all can see, I'm just going to set this under my presser foot, keeping it in half. And for right now, I'm just going to lower my presser foot just for a second to get my ribbon. Now, this ribbon is what I'm using today. Isn't it cute? It's so pretty and youthful and fun. And I thought it would look great with the orange, just make it pop a little bit. Now, this is as long as my organza piece, okay? Give or take a little bit, but you want your ribbon to go along the length of your fabric, okay? So what I do is I'm going to put the two sides together, and for me, I don't have a wrong or a right side. I guess on the organza, maybe the only difference would be one side appears to be a little shinier, but I think with mesh and organza, I don't think it's that much of a difference between the two sides. So I just take and put the halves together, and I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to slide it. Let me show you here a little closer. On the machine, I'm putting this down, but I'm going to take my ribbon and put it between the two. And I know some of you may have watched other ones and they have it on the outside and they stitch. I don't choose to do mine that way. I will take this and set it on the inside and make a sandwich. Make a sandwich basically between the two pieces of organza and my ribbon. The ribbon going in the center. And I'm going to straight stitch along this edge. This is the folded edge. We're going to leave that as it is for now. But I'm going to sandwich my ribbon between my two pieces of organza or tulle, if that's what you choose to use, or whichever your material is. So that's what I'm going to do here on my machine. And if you choose to pin, you can pin. I just rather hold on to it and let it go. And I am going to turn it this way. My folded edge will be on the inside because I'm just going to use the edge of my presser foot as my guide. So I will put my edges together as best I can. Get that underneath my presser foot. Place my presser foot down. And all I'm going to do is, as I'm going along, I'm going to move the two pieces on top. Well, the three pieces. Keep your ribbon to the edge and put all of them to the edge and just go along the edge. I have my stitch setting to a straight stitch. I of course am using my J foot. My width is 0 millimeters. The length is 2.5 millimeters. And that's what I have mine set to on my Brother SE625. You would have to adjust yours to whatever settings that would work best for you. And I'm going to keep my tension at a 4. That seems to work well for me. Now again, all of our machines have their own little quirks. So do what works for you and your machine. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to sew down the sides as I stated. And just take your time. You don't have to go super fast. It's not a race. We'll get it done. So just match your sides up Match everything you can as best you can. You want your sides to line up like so. And I kind of like that this is striped because it makes it a little easier for me to follow what I'm doing. That's not always the case, but today I guess it's a perk. I guess you can keep that in mind too. If you think it's a little easier, maybe you'll just use stripe design ribbon. But it's not hard even if you don't have a ribbon that has a straight line design. Just match your two sides up together and sandwich your ribbon in between. And as I said, I'm using the side of my presser foot as my guide. And now we're going to stitch forward a little, and always remember to back stitch when you begin a project to lock in your stitch. Okay? And then from here, remember, just keep your sides lined up. I'm using the edge of my presser foot as my guide, and I'll do a little, and then I'll pause again and make sure that everything is still lined up like I want it to be. And then I will continue to stitch. And as I said, take your time. You don't have to rush. It will get done. It seems like it's a hard project, but honestly, once you do this, you're halfway there. It is really fun, and then the outcome is so cute. So we're just going to continue along until you get to the end. So I'm going to continue to stitch, and I'll meet you back when I've gotten to the end of my fabric. Now when you get to the end, of your fabric or ribbon, whichever, make sure you have to remember, when you get to the end, you still need to backstitch to secure your stitch, okay? So don't forget to backstitch at the beginning and again at the end. So now I'm at the end. I'm now cut mine off. And mine stopped here, just shy of my ending, and that happened, so I'm going to cut this part off. And I just use my peeking shears to help keep down some of the fraying. If you use on your ribbon side, you want to burn the ends a little bit, same thing. If you don't have shears, just cut it down, take a little heat to the ends of your ribbon. That would help reduce the fraying. So now, don't forget to clip off your whatever strings you may have. Now that we've done that, we have a tube. Yes, a tube. So what we're going to do now is turn this inside, well, right side out. It's inside out now, so we're going to flip our tube so that our ribbon will be on the outside, okay? And for that, with this one, I can gather a little on my hand, all right? And all you're gonna do is turn it over. Turn it out. And see? Now our ribbon is encased and on the outside. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish turning this the right way. If you all are having a hard time with doing it with your hand, you can carefully, I wouldn't necessarily say with the safety pin and turn because this fabric is rather delicate, so you don't want to poke too many holes in it and mess your fabric up. But I think with the width, you should have enough room to be able to do it with your hand, just like I am. I'm just going to continue to pull this through until we've pulled it all the way out. Give it a little shake. We're getting through there. And in comparison to the, I'll say, typical way that most of these TuTu socks are made, this is the step they don't do. They just sew the tulle or the organza straight to the ribbon, and it'll be there on one back side. Just for me, I just wanted to, I tried it with it like this, and I like it. My personal preference does not have to be yours. The same way I took it and put it on the inside, if you feel more comfortable, you could lay it just on the edge and stitch right on top. And you don't have to do this turn part, but I really think it just does something nice. It looks very good to me, and I was very happy with it, and I hope you will be too. So I'm almost to the end. And now our ribbon is on the outside. See? And we have our casing here. And all I'm going to do is straighten this out. I'll probably take a light, very light heat to this to straighten this out so that the roll is not there as much. But I love the way that this just sits right at the edge. And I think it maximizes my width. Okay, so that's something to think about. If you have a piece that might be just a little shy of the length that you want or the width that you want it to be, this is a nice little trick because it just puts it at the edge and you maximize most of your length. So I'm going to go run the heat over this slightly and I will be right back. Okay, everyone, so now I have pressed this down. See how that looks? Look at that. That looks much better now, and it'll be easier to work through. Now, the next thing we're going to do is take this, and we're going to put it back through our machine. What we're going to do is make the casing for our elastic to go through. So, depending on what size elastic you have, you are going to, that's how wide you want to just stitch down the whole thing again, but leave enough room for your elastic. So mine is not that large this time. I was surprised, you guys. Guess where I got this elastic from? Dollar Tree. You guys will hear me talk a lot about Dollar Tree because they are definitely doing big things for crafters. So my elastic is about that wide. So I'm going to stitch just enough for my elastic to fit through. Okay? So I will stitch maybe about to here. Maybe around to here on mine, because that would give me enough room. I don't want to have too much room because then you'll have too much at the top. So again, I'm going to go ahead. Let me make sure my bobbin is threaded, you guys. Okay, the bobbin is back threaded. Let me trim some of this off actually. Now that we have that back right, I didn't change any of my settings. I'm going to use the same settings I used to stitch this down. And again, I'm going to go all the way the length down, large enough for my elastic, which for me It's not, it's about a half an inch. So it'll be about there. Just enough. You don't want to leave too much over the top because then it will make a lot around the waistband and you don't really need all that. It's not, you don't want that. So just keep in mind how much room you want to give your casing. So again, you're going to do this the length of your material. We let our needle down, and again, we're going to go, you do not have to raise. Try to keep it as still as you can, lined up as you can. You're just going to go from one end to the other, straight across. Remember, once you do your first stitch, back stitch at the beginning as well as at the end to secure your stitch. And you're going to do this the whole way down, leaving enough room for your elastic. And as best you can, don't leave too much room. You want just enough for your elastic so that it's not a whole lot hanging over the top. It's not a big deal, but it just looks better if it isn't that way. Back stitch to secure your stitch, okay? Please remember to do that. You hate to have this and get the fluffing and finishing up and your stitch starts to unravel, okay? So remember to back stitch. And now we have our casing. Hopefully you can see that. Oops. Hopefully you see that. See the stitching? Now, guys, it's time for the fun part.
At this point, I lost my footage on putting the elastic through the casing that we made, but here's a video, or at least a snippet, showing you exactly what you do at that point. You're just going to take your elastic that you had measured from the ankle size that you are going to use. You're going to take a large safety pin and put into the tip, and you're going to simply slide that elastic through all the way to the other side. Now, in doing so, you want to watch your end. Here, you can see that the elastic is getting smaller because it is going through the fabric, that the part that's left out. When you get it to the edge like here, you want to stop and either take a safety pin, another safety pin, and put it between both the fabric and the elastic, or you can do as you see in the video here, put a stick pin through that and let that be. You're going to then continue on to push their elastic through to the end of whatever your length is. It's going to bunch. It's supposed to. Just be mindful. Try to keep your elastic from twisting. Just take your time and push it through. You do it enough times, it becomes very simple. Those ruffles that you see, that's exactly what you want it to happen. You want it to form those ruffles so that your sock will have that beautiful ruffled look. Once you've done all of that and you've gotten to the other side, go ahead and give the elastic a little stretch. When you stretch the elastic, it allows for the ruffles to kind of even themselves out. So you're just going to pull on it a little. You want to secure your other end, and then you could be able to remove the safety pin at this point. And once you've done this, you're going to simply connect the two sides together, one side to the other, and you're going to simply stitch from the elastic down to the end of your fabric. And that's really all you have to do. So I apologize. I don't know what happened to the video, but hopefully you can understand what's going on at this point.
Okay, now I have finished ruffling it up, and look at that. Isn't that cute? Look how pretty that is. It's gorgeous. So now what we do now is take our ends, our elastic here, see that? And our elastic here. Let me get those out of the way. And we're going to sew these together. Now you can do this by hand. I'm just gonna run over it right quick with the sewing machine, sew these together, and then I'm going to sew a seam right here to close this whole thing off. And then, oh no, I thought I'd lost it, y'all. And then our sock will be complete. Look at how pretty that comes out. Now I will say the difference between this and tulle, I think this adds a little more of a fluff, but I love it just the same. So I'm going to go ahead and close these off, and I'll be right back to you.